Get ready to break molds and blaze trails. Welcome to the Chelsey Holm podcast, your shortcuts to wellness, business, and growth with a twist. Let's flip the script and unlock your full potential together. So I just wanted to update you guys on our life right now because it's a little chaotic. So Zach and I, this last year, we were looking at where we were moving next, right? Because we move every 2 to 3 years, and we were up for a move, and so we had our list and all the things, and we were starting to mentally prepare for moving, which is starting to declutter, and thinking, not quite getting there, but thinking about getting the house ready to sell and all the things, and then we found out that Zach got picked up for his next phase of education in his military career as an officer. And so he got picked up to go live, to actually be in person in Kansas. The alternative is to do it simultaneously online while you're working at your duty station, whatever. Anyway, and so that whole decision was just pulling nails, pulling teeth. I don't know what I just said. Sometimes I mess up common phrases. It also could be because last night I was working on putting together some contract templates for one-on-one coaching, and I looked at the clock and it said 11, and I had been trucking along and making great progress, and it seemed wow, I'm getting so much done in such a short amount of time. I thought when I looked at the clock it was going to be way later than it was, and I was great, I'm going to keep working for a little bit longer. Next time I looked at the clock, it said 3:30 a.m. I was oh my gosh, I'm what happened? Why am I not tired? And I don't know why I wasn't tired. I was just living in my zone, doing what I love, writing some emails too. I did the contracts, but I was also writing a series of emails and putting it into a workflow, and I love doing that kind of stuff. That just lets my creative genius just fly, and creating podcasts like this, it's something that I truly love, and I think that I added so much value to people like you listening, right? In a way that I would love to sit down and have coffee with you, but I can't do that with everybody, and I think it's such an impactful way to be able to reach more people, right, in real time. Anyway, so that's all that to say is probably why I'm a little extra tired today, because I did not get up until later. Sorry. I honestly, side note, getting texts and notifications delivered to my watch actually irritates me. Not a huge fan. I have my Garmin watch because it's the best for tracking my runs, and helping me, especially to do training runs. I use it to track steps too. I use it to check in with my heart rate and all those things. This is not a paid ad. I just love Garmin. I think it's the best if you're a runner. That's just my 2 cents on that. But I keep getting notifications, and I need to turn it off because it drives me crazy, because it breaks my train of thought and I lose concentration and focus, and then I'm wait, what? But that's how our brain works with notifications, right? So anyways, back to the story of us deciding what we were going to do, because now all of a sudden, we, instead of moving to a new station, selling our house, and being there for 2 to 3 years, now it was only going to be a year. And so we actually put all the options on the table of okay, so here's the options. The options are we continue as planned, we sell our house, we move for the year, and then we reconvene and figure it out with the options for, after the year's over. So that was option number 1. The second option was we keep our house, we rent it out, and then we hope to come back after a year and, him to go back to his previous unit in a different position, right? So that was option number 2. And then option number 3 that we actually kept taking off the table because we hated hated so much was that only Zach would move to Kansas for the year, and the kids and I would stay home and carry on with life as usual with him geo-bacheloring. And if you're not familiar with geo-bacheloring, it's when a married soldier goes and gets stationed somewhere else, and so technically they're living as a bachelor without their family, but they obviously are married and whatever. Anyway, so we kept taking it off the table. We probably took it off the table 3 times, and every time we were like, okay, well, we just kept putting it back on the table because we're like, if we're trusting the Lord in this and in all things, like, we need to keep all the options on the table and let him lead us to the one we want. And then after the 3rd time of putting it back on the table, we're like, dang it all. Like, we both just knew that the reason it kept coming back on the table is because, and the reason we probably hated it so much, is because it was a necessary season of growth for us, and we needed to trust the Lord through it. And so we picked option number 3, and I can't say that we're thrilled about it at this point, but at the same time, we've both like had confirmation that this was a decision God wanted us to make for whatever reason, and here we are. So this is what we're doing now, and it's had its ups and downs, and for both of us, and like for me, I think the biggest thing is managing my stress and being able to stay tuned in to how I'm feeling, and be able to recognize the signs of stress building and leading to a place of overwhelm, and like before I get there and have my freakouts like or breakdowns, being able to implement tools and techniques to bring it down, right? And minimize my stress load. And so I've been getting better at that, especially about being able to recognize it in myself. Like, it tends to start in my shoulders, tensing up, and I find myself like doing breaths like that. And I'm like, okay, I am feeling stressed right now. I'm feeling, I'm starting to feel overwhelmed. Like, what do I need to do right now? Like, what do I need right now? And the funniest thing about this is, like, when you're on a growth and health journey and, like, you care about wellness and, you're doing the things that make you feel your best, you don't have a lot of unhealthy vices anymore. And, sometimes those seem like, man, that would be so much easier if I drank. But I don't, and I don't want to. And I know that it's easier in the moment, but there are consequences and, on so many different levels and facets for that, right? And just not a healthy way to manage or cope with stress, right? But it's in the back of my head, like, why do I have to be so dang healthy? Like, I'll just go do a workout, I guess, or like, I'll just go journal and read something that's inspiring and, recognize that if I'm mindlessly scrolling on social, that it's making me, and, it's leading me to feeling a certain way, and it's not helpful, and it's not reducing or minimizing my stress. It's actually adding to it sometimes. And self-awareness is just a beast, right? Like, because when you're self-aware, like, you have to consciously be like, no, I don't care. I am not going to do the thing that I know that I should do, that I know will make me feel my best, because it's who I am and not just something I do, right? Like, you have to consciously, like, make that decision, or, like, consciously avoid dealing with it in the whole process, right? Okay, so anyways, so that's where I'm at right now. That's where we are. And, if you have lived separated from your spouse, which, funny story, Bo has been going around telling people, my dad has his own apartment and he doesn't live with my mom anymore, which is true, but it's only half of the story. Still happily married, still very much love each other, just living in different locations because Army life, like, right? So I always have to chuckle and be like, no matter how hard life gets, or how challenging, but I will say, like, the biggest challenge, for me as someone who really values depth of conversation and quality time, and for him who values, physical touch, like, how the heck do you foster those when you're living 7 hours apart and, you know, you're still busy with things of life? To making that intentional. So maybe I'll do a podcast episode about that once we actually get out of this year and have successes and struggles and overcoming obstacles, right? But yeah, it's been a journey, and I can't say I love it, but we willingly chose it, and it'll be interesting to see, like, what happens after this year or two of, like, will we be moving after that? Will we have that option for him to stay? Like, other things going on, like, I don't know, who knows what tomorrow will bring, right? Like, we trust and we show up today, and for the future. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm just, like, reading t-shirts right now, which I typically don't agree with. You get what I'm saying. Life's an adventure, man. That's what I keep telling my kids. Like, life is an adventure. Like, we get to choose our attitude despite our circumstances in all things. And there are so many things that we can control, including our attitude, first and foremost. And we need to focus on those things. So, yeah, I've been going through a lot of different growth things. I've owned my own business for a long time as a sole proprietor, but with me expanding in the last several years into, like, officially one-on-one coaching, outside of my own network marketing business, and also being a contracted personal trainer through a company, and, you know, doing different things like that, like, my income gets a little bit tricky, right, when it comes to tax time. And so just, like, through a series of things, I started my own LLC, and I'm excited to really step into that next level of entrepreneurship, business ownership, in this, you know, higher level, I think, you know, like, too legit to quit, right? Not that I'd ever quit. That's not in my nature. But I do want to share one thing of growth recently of my own. So you guys know that I started working with a 10X coach through Grant Cardone, and I'm doing that for a year. And I'll tell you, every week she kicks my butt. Like, the coach gets coached, and it just reiterates to me the value of coaching, because even as a coach, even being super self-aware, even knowing all the tools and techniques to self-coach and to coach others, we can't see the forest through the trees a lot of times when it comes to our own stories and how that's playing out. And, like, just so many things. And so the last call that I had with my coach, like, she totally put into words what I have been actually wrongly identifying for years now. So there was a moment in my network marketing business where our company, and I think I've shared this before, but our company opened up earning the ability to earn a trip to non-leaders for the first time ever. And so, like, in order to be a leader, you needed a couple people in your organization, which I didn't have at the time. But I was like, I remember sitting in that conference when they were going over the details of how you would earn that trip and all the qualifications and all that. And I remember thinking, man, can I do that? And then my stage shifted, and I was like, I think I can do that. And then it shifted even more, and I was like, I'm going to do that. And I went home and I made a plan, including, like, these bubbles I had to fill in for, like, all of the new customers I was going to bring in. I had a thermostat thing of all the volume I was going to create. And I had, you know, all the team members I was going to bring in, right? And so fast forward a year after that, or less. No, I think it was less. I think it was in, like, it had to have been like 4 to 5 months, because that would have been, like, after conference. And it was December 31st, creeping up to 11:59 p.m. And I was on a call closing my final new customer to hit every single qualification and earn that trip. And for years, and so I did. I earned that trip, right? But I remember it was like this almost this out-of-body experience for me in that moment of, I earned this trip, but I'm not with my family on December 31st, which is a holiday, and what I thought and was identifying as burnout was actually what happened in that moment. Was a story was created because I experienced a disconnect between my values and my actions. And so working with my coach a week ago, she helped me to see this, and she actually shared her story of having the exact same thing. And so the way that looked in my life was immediately after earning that trip, I couldn't bring myself to do the daily, consistent, needle-moving activities I had done for years leading up to that point. And it wasn't that I was afraid to do them, because I'll get on the phone with anybody, anytime, any day, do a presentation, do all the things, close the sale, but I just couldn't bring myself to do them. And I thought that it was because I had burned out. But really, I'm someone who loves to work, so I just don't know that burnout really is in my repertoire. I just don't know that it is. And so when she walked me through this and showed me how that out-of-body experience was my brain forming a story based on the fact that I disconnected my values from my actions, and that is not something that we want to do ever. That's why I couldn't find the, motivation or desire or just will to do the dang things I had been doing so consistently for so long. And so for the last several years, I've been helping others, to build their businesses in a way that aligns with them. But I failed to see the fact that mine was not aligned with me. And that's why I was struggling so much to do the actual work myself. And so, I had done work for so many years up to that point that, I had created a stable business that was able over the last, 5 years to continue with me pouring into my leaders and taking care of my customers, but not forward facing out there, actively doing the things that I had once done to bring in new customers, to bring in new team members. And so what a blessing, and hello, what a testimony to the fact of the power of building a team, and helping other people to do what you've done, right? But there's also a point where things change, customers stop ordering, you do have a slow drip, and volume over the years slowly decreased, right? And that's what happens if you aren't consistently bringing in new customers and taking great care of them, right? That is a natural thing. And so I started to be faced with that, and I could not get myself into consistent action. And so then having this conversation with my coach was just oh my gosh, you're so right. And so I'm still weeding through this, of what that looks like, but I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders after having that conversation of, oh my gosh, I didn't burn out. I actually disconnected my values from my actions, and I just need to put my actions and values back in harmony with each other, and easy peasy lemon squeezy, growth is mine in my network marketing business, so should I choose, right? So yeah, so I wanted to share that story with you. I wanted to update you on where we're at in lives, and if we seem a little crazy, that's why, because it's just me here, one parent. Today I have to pick up 2 kids in 2 different cities at 4 p.m., which I haven't mastered the art of being in 2 places at one time yet. So if you have, please comment and give me some tips. Totally kidding. Like, I know we can't do that. Honestly, this whole season for us is like, we need to believe the best in each other, all of us, myself, my kids, my spouse, and show a lot of grace for everyone, because we're all moving through a challenge that most people probably won't experience. And so, we can do this, and we can grow through the process, and we don't need to live in a state of overwhelm. And as a friend told me today, we can be okay with the world around us not being okay. And I'm still working to embody that, but I totally get it, because we can't control the people around us. We can't control our circumstances 100%, right? Like, there's a lot we can do to create an environment that we want, that fosters growth. But yeah, I just thought that was so profound, and I'm embodying that. So if you were encouraged by this episode, if you found, some nuggets that you were pulling out that you think a friend would enjoy, please share this with a friend. The more people that are hearing my words, honestly, which is just my experience of growth, the more people growing in this world, the better this world becomes. So take care, my friends. See you soon.
Thanks for joining the Chelsey Holm podcast journey. If you've enjoyed challenging the norm and embracing growth with a twist, share the love. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, keep defying expectations and keep leaning into who God made you to be.